What's up guys? In this video, we're going to go on an exploration of the mind, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why the mind is the root cause of all your problems. I'll underline the word all. Alright, now by the end of this video, you'll also be able to apply these concepts to every area of your life. Whether it's your poker career, whether it's your relationships, whether it's just life in general that's causing frustration and issues, it's all coming from the same root cause. Now, I'll talk about my experience when I realized, wait a second, my mind is causing a lot of problems, and it started when I was in my early 20s. So from, say, 18 to 21, I went to university to study sports science. I had a very fun 3 or 4 years studying and partying a lot with my friends, and it was a great time. I didn't really think about anything other than my short-term environment, and I was having a lot of fun. Then I graduated, and life started to get a bit serious. A lot of my friends moved to London or big cities to get real jobs, graduate jobs, and start the career path. I thought it was all a bit rushed, and I was like, why can't we keep having fun? But most people were starting to get their lives together at this point, and I wasn't ready. So I moved back to my hometown, back into my parents' house, and a few of my friends were still studying in my home city, so I would just party with them and kind of pretend I was a student whilst working a minimum wage job to fund my lifestyle. Again, I was pretty happy doing this, didn't have many worries, but I started to feel a little bit of pressure. Pressure from my parents, who kept going, Adam, you've just got a degree, why are you bumming around and doing nothing? All my friends were onto their first promotions by now and progressing in their careers, and I was completely broke. I had absolutely no money, I had loads of student debt, I had overdrafts of about $6,000 to $10,000 that needed to be paid back immediately, because now I'm no longer a student and they're starting to ask for that money back. And I started to feel like, wait a second, I need to start making some money. I need to start getting my situation turned around. So I had no motivation or drive at this part of my life. So I was just working some overtime in a retail shop and didn't really know where I was going. Luckily, I had some friends who were a bit more ambitious than me, and they discovered poker, and they discovered an online ranking system called SharkScope, which had all the profits of all the online poker players. And we made a spontaneous decision to give it a go, give online poker a go, and move to Thailand to see if it could work. All right, so I've told the story in other videos, so I'll fast track that. I'll fast track to where my mind started being an issue. So we fly to Thailand, and we're starting our poker career. Now, after a few months, my visa runs out. And my friends got a long-term visa because they were sensible, and I didn't. I got a 2-month visa, and I had to renew it. And I had to leave Thailand to renew it. So I had to get a flight to Kuala Lumpur to go to the embassy to pay for this, to sort out my new visa. I arrive in Kuala Lumpur, and I go to use my card as I arrive to get some food or to pay for something, and it says declined. And I couldn't get any money out. So I tried another card, declined. So both my cards got declined because my banks got frozen when I left the country because I wasn't repaying some of the debts that I had with my overdrafts, and I had no money. And I remember thinking at that moment, it sucks being broke. And I remember literally, this was my first kind of recollection, thinking how awesome being to have money. I thought, if I could just pay off my debts, have $1,000 in the bank, all my problems would go away. I remember even thinking, I saw some guy on the plane next to me had an iPad, and this was kind of earlier days of iPads. I was like, wow, I wish I had an iPad to watch some movies on my flight, and then just had a few thousand in the bank to spend on stuff to live a good lifestyle. I would have zero problems if I could do that. All right, so I ended up going to the embassy and getting some, I went to the Western Union, got my friends to send me some money, so I survived my one night in Kuala Lumpur. But then I had a good few months of poker. All right, so I went back to my grinding station, and I achieved my first objective. Paid off my debts, my immediate debts that were charging me bills, got my banks unfrozen and some money, and I remember having £1,000 or £2,000 in my UK bank account. Not my poker roll, but in my bank account. Now, I would have thought, 2 months previously, I'd be blissfully happy at this stage. I'd be, this is awesome, this is great. But no, my mind instantly went, all right, Adam, it's like, you've got 2,000, well done, slow clap for you. That's nothing. You need at least 10,000 to be able to live comfortably and not have to worry about money. So then my mind started to fixate on, this situation is not good enough, and I need 10,000 in my bank, and then I'll definitely be happy. I can't think of another problem I could possibly have if I had 10,000 in my bank. That's how my mind was working at that time. So I think it took quite a while to get to 10,000, in all honesty. I think the first year I didn't make it. I think it was like maybe midway from my second year, where I remember my English bank account had £10,000 in it. I remember counting the zeros, going 1, 2, 3, 4, until, yeah, we're good. We've got 10,000 there. And then I remember going, that's not too much. At this stage, I was playing higher stakes. I think I was playing 200 heads up sit and goes. It was my average stake. And I remember saying, you need at least 100 grand, Adam. 10 grand's nothing. You could live like a few months, but not much. So my mind went, okay, 100 grand. And at this time, going from broke to a few thousand feels like a massive jump. Going from 1,000 to 10,000 feels like a huge jump. And then from 10,000 to 100,000, I remember my mind going, okay, this is definitely the finish line. I will be happy at 100 grand. There's no way I can't. So I went on an absolute mission to get my life circumstances, my finances to 100 grand. And I decided to go for Supernova Elite and grind like crazy because they guaranteed 100 grand in rake back on top of your profits if you could get to Supernova Elite level by playing volume. I was playing mid stakes, probably $300 heads up sit and goes at this time. I'm going to grind like a maniac to get there. So the first year I did it, hit Supernova Elite, and somehow I managed to spend almost all of it. I remember checking my bank account at the end of the year going, where did the money go? If you're somebody who's not used to having money and you've got bad beliefs around money, you've got bad spending habits, it's frustrating, but you find ways to spend money. And that was me. I'd find ways to leak money every single day for a whole year, and there was not much left at the end of that year. The second year, however, I did Supernova Elite again, and I had some good profits on top of that. And I remember when I got my last cash in from my Supernova Elite checkpoint, I remember looking at my bank account, so I withdrew my poker roll to my UK bank account, and I was like, yes, I've got 100k. And I remember thinking, wow, this is the goal I set myself a few years ago, and I should be really happy now. Was I happy? Was I really fulfilled? Did I go on to live a very blissful, meaningful life? Did my mind just go very quiet and calm? Or was there more problems? Newsflash, there was more problems. My mind instantly, I think I had 10 minutes of going, well done, Adam, congratulating myself. And then my mind created two problems. The first one went, all right, Adam, 100k is not enough. That's 2 years, maybe 3 years of living the life you're living. It's not enough. Plus, you're playing way higher stakes now. You're playing mainly 1Ks. You could easily swing 20, 30K. You need way more than 100K. This is nowhere near enough. You need way more to be comfortable. So I started thinking about getting more, acquiring more. All right. Then I started grinding, and I had a bit of a downswing. I remember like my first week of the new year, after I got my kind of Supernova checkpoint, and I started to worry about dropping below 100K. I'd never thought about losing before. Until this point, my mind was all about acquire, get more. But now I started to think about, I don't want to go below 100K. That'd be awful. I've just worked so hard to get here. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose this. So now my mind's doing two things. It's like, Adam, don't lose what you've got. Adam, get more. And it's driving in these different directions. So at this stage of my life, I'm like, okay, well, I need to go to the next checkpoint. So, however, somehow internally, I had a little bit of self-awareness to realize, all right, this seems to be happening quite a lot. And if I get to 200K, 500K, $1 million, I think my mind will come up with another reason to be unhappy. I started to realize the next money goal probably wasn't going to do it for me. I didn't know what was going to do it, and if I had have known what I'm going to teach you guys in this video today, I would have been in a much better situation because I would have been able to understand what was causing this problem. But at this moment, I'm quite trapped because I feel like I don't want it to lose, and I know if I gain more, it's not going to make me feel any better. All right, so I'm in this kind of predicament where, what the hell do I do? So I did what most people do in that situation: put your head down, run to the next milestone, and hope the next milestone's good enough. All right. However, I want you to skip that phase, and I want you to realize your problems will continue to repeat themselves until you understand this process. All right. So that was my experience with it, and it took me a number of years, probably 3 years after that moment, before I started to really explore the root of it and where it came from. And today I'm going to hopefully get you to skip all that phase and go straight into understand the root of your problems and working on them at the best level. All right. So what is going on? Why is the mind creating all these problems? Well, first of all, I want to separate the mind into two functions, two modes the mind can be in. All right. So the mind can be like a computer. It can generate thoughts on our will. All right. We can use the mind to solve problems. We can use it to calculate things. We can use it to learn things. All right. The mind, when you use it for specific things, is amazing. It's amazing at calculating stuff, computing stuff, solving problems. The mind is awesome at that. However, you've also got the mind that constantly generates thoughts. When you're not using it, imagine you're not using your computer, the computer starts sprouting up loads of stuff. As the mind does, it starts generating thoughts when we're not using it. And that function happens 95% of the time. And we'll call that the personal mind. All right, so the personal mind is constantly generating thoughts. And that is the part that we want to focus on today. I do not want you guys to think, okay, this mind is this useless thing. By the end of this video, we can use our minds in useful ways, but when we're not using it, what is the mind doing? All right, so now we're going to take a step back in order to understand why I was having problems and why you most likely are having problems that are coming from your mind as well. So first of all, we've got to understand that we are conscious beings, all right? We have consciousness. Imagine like a big light of consciousness, almost like shining behind the eyes somewhere. Now that consciousness can only be attracted or absorbed in three things, all right? Not complicated, one of three things. It can be absorbed in the world, in terms of form, for our senses. It can be absorbed in our thoughts, in our mind, the activity of the mind, or it can be absorbed in our emotions, the feelings in the body. That's it. If you ever think of any experience you're having, it's one of those things. You have an experience with your outer environment, your thoughts, or your emotions. Often they combine together to create some sort of cocktail, but that is it. All right? Now, in simple terms, we have our senses, and data is constantly coming in. All right? Just data, raw data. All right? It's really interesting when you actually think, when you understand how the brain works. There's no such thing as color in our environment. The brain does that later during like a rendering process, but we're taking in raw data, right? So say data for your eyes, data for your ears, data for your senses. Then what happens with this amazing process, the body renders that, all right? So it basically, in your nervous system, it gets turned into electric impulses that go to the brain, and all this raw data then gets turned into information and stories and useful concepts that then get displayed on the flat screen of the mind. All right, so imagine data in, the body, the nervous system, then renders that into a certain image and then portrays that image on the mind. All right, imagine the mind like a flat screen, right? A flat screen. And thoughts are the things that come through and get put onto the screen of the mind. All right, hopefully I'm not going too fast. If I am, you can watch this on repeat, but it's super powerful to know this. Information in, renders through the body and gets displayed on the flat screen of the mind. Now, if that process is working how it should, there are no problems. You have an experience and you're just a human experiencing life. The next thing comes in, you experience it, and life goes on. All right, so the Buddhists would call this empty mind. The mind's empty, the next experience gets flashed on the screen, that moves on, the next one comes. And you're just like watching a movie or participating in a movie and everything is fine. All right, so that is the functionality of what we should be doing. However, things start to go a little bit wrong. So where's the problem start? The problem starts when we start to separate life into things that we like and things that we dislike. All right, so imagine I've taken in information from my environment, I've had an experience, and that gets flashed on the screen of my mind, the flat screen of my mind. Imagine I decide, oh, I like that. That made me feel good. I get a happy, good feeling inside me. Now, what do? I cling to it. So that flat screen, it's like almost like a still shot of a movie. I cling to it because I go, that made me feel good. I want more of that. So the mind goes, okay, that made you feel good. We want more situations like that. All right, so this image on the screen, I now cling to it. I cling to that and I want more of the things that make me feel good. Sounds obvious, right? I'll talk about why it's such a problem in just a second. The next thing we've got is things we dislike. All right, so imagine a movie comes through, horror movie, comes on the front screen, and it makes you feel bad inside. Don't like that feeling. Don't like how it's making me feel inside. We then say, I want less of that. I want to resist that. All right, so we push it away. We resist that experience coming through. And again, by doing that, the mind goes, avoid situations and experiences that cause that situation. All right, so imagine what's supposed to be happening. We're supposed to be living our lives and watching the movie, and a new experience comes out of the screen. However, the mind is throwing up thoughts, which are the images, back onto the screen. So imagine I like things, the mind's going, oh, I don't know, more situations that make you feel this way. And the screen, which should be clear to experience the next thing, is stuck. It's stuck in a loop. The mind's constantly generating thoughts, which appears images on the screen of things you like and things you dislike. All right, and that's it. Now you can't experience your life. Now you can't interact with the moment because the mind's thinking, it's constantly putting thoughts to the screen of the mind, and it's basically wanting more experiences that you like, clinging onto those, and it's wanting more experiences that you dislike. It wants to avoid experiences you dislike. Now the problem is, the experience is gone. The experience that caused that feeling is gone, and all that's left is the still image. So the mind's constantly coming up with thoughts that are creating a still image that is going on the screen. Hopefully that is clear. Hopefully I went in enough detail to understand that process, because it's so powerful once you understand that is what's happening. Now, to make things worse, the mind makes one fatal error. The mind makes one very, very critical error, and we can see why it happens. So because things are coming into my senses and into my body and make me feel certain ways, and things make me feel good and make me feel bad, the mind makes this distinction that, okay, because certain things in the outside world can make me feel good and certain things from the outside world can make me feel bad, that must mean that the outside world affects my internal state. My internal state, how I feel, must depend on the external. All right, this is what the mind does. And then it goes, okay, well, if that's the case, I need to make sure circumstances, events, life situations unfold in the way that I want that make me feel good. All right, so I need to have success. I need to be liked. I need to have all these things that make me feel good in the short term. I need the outside world to give me that feeling. Now, on the flip side, things I don't like, things that make me feel bad, I need to make sure I do not create those. I need to make sure I avoid those circumstances at all costs. All right, this is the big error. This is the big error. Now, your mind thinks your internal state of how you feel yourself is governed by the external world. All right, so this is the predicament we find ourselves in. So now the mind goes into fix-it mode. The mind is trying to find a way for you internally to feel good, to feel okay, so there's no problems. So the mind goes on this mission to try to solve the problem. It wants you to feel okay, all right? However, it has no experience with this. It has no clue how to make you feel okay because it's messed up the biggest part of the equation. It thinks the external is responsible for how you feel internally, all right? So it's constantly trying to go, okay, we need more money. So for me, it was like, get out of debt, get 10K, get 100K. My mind is trying to make me feel okay inside. And because it thinks the external is in charge of that, it's coming up with the next thing, the next thing, the next thing to try to fix the problem, all right? Or it's going, okay, well, I think we don't like these things, so we need to avoid this, we need to avoid this, we need to avoid this, all right? It's trying to create a nice environment externally so that I feel good inside. All right. However, if you spend any sort of time working on this, you realize your internal state is not dependent on the external. We can make it dependent. We can create a narrative where I will only allow myself to be happy if I've got money, I'm successful, I've achieved X, Y, Z. We can create that kind of equation consciously, but all the internal states is internal, right? It happens internal. If you don't understand this concept, you'd have to do a little bit of work exploring, because it took me a lot of time to understand, the external can impact my internal state if I let it, but my internal state is separate. It's separate. I can feel good anytime I want to. I can choose to feel happy, all right? So this is the predicament. This is the root cause of all your problems, all right? Now, I wish there was a quick fix. And unfortunately, there isn't. This is the predicament of 99.99% of people on the planet, and most people don't understand this is what's happening. However, your life's goal should be to disidentify from the process of the mind. Not to stop the mind. The mind's always going to generate thoughts to try and make you feel okay, but you need to watch the mind doing its thing, and you need to disidentify from it. What does that mean? What does that mean, Adam? It means you have to learn to watch your thoughts without getting absorbed in them. Now, when I first started getting into this concept, I had no clue what I was talking about. It didn't make sense to me. If I had a thought, that was me. My mind would always follow my thoughts. However, once I started to get into meditation, in particular like a long-term meditation habit, I started to realize that I was this consciousness and I could watch my thoughts. All right, so first my thoughts and me were like combined, and as I started to meditate more, I started to create separation between my consciousness and my thoughts. So I could see my thoughts, I could watch my thoughts without getting absorbed in them. All right, and watch them in meditation, because when you're meditating, everything's still. There's less inputs, so all that's going on generally is sensation in the body, but generally the mind gets very active when you close your eyes and remove senses. When you get good at that, you start to realize, I can watch my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. And what you start to see is the mind's just going thought, 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 trying its best to make you feel okay. If you absorb in that process and you think the mind is working, the mind's effective in that way, you're lost, and you will continue to seek things externally to make you feel good. The mind will always fail this game because the mind has no clue about the heart. It has no clue about how to make you feel good. It's only trying to solve problems in the external world. It's always going to fail. Once you realize this and you see this for what it is, you realize my goal of life is to disidentify from this process. All right, I need to be able to watch my mind do its thing and not get absorbed in it. All right. So first of all, like I said, for myself, meditation was the way in. I had to spend at least a year of meditating 20 to 30 minutes daily to create enough space so I could watch that process. Once you've done that, once you've got that initial phase, you've created a bit of separation between your thoughts and you, the consciousness that's watching the thoughts, then every single moment of your life is training. Every single moment, all right? The mind is constantly generating thoughts. Your job is to not get absorbed in that process, not to try and stop the process. Do not try and stop the mind. The mind will definitely be more active if you do that. you need to get still behind the mind and watch the mind try to solve it. All right, so if I could have done this back at the start of the story when I was having my money problems, I would have saw that the mind was trying to make me feel okay by telling me, I don't know if you got this much money, you will feel good. If I had the skills at that time, I could have went, that's my mind telling me I need to have 100K. Interesting. Nice try, mind. Good idea. And I can just watch it. I don't need to renounce it. I don't need to get sucked into it. I can just watch the mind doing its thing. And once you start to watch the mind do that, over time, it takes time, it starts to get quieter. It starts to throw less things to your conscious awareness because you're staying more and more centered, all right? But the main thing I want you guys to take away from this video is that most of us, if not all of us, are trapped by the mind. We literally listen to it non-stop, and as a result, it's causing all our problems. If we could disidentify from this process and learn to watch it, like I said, for me, first of all, meditation, now every moment is an opportunity to either disengage from the process, which will strengthen my position as being centered and gives me a chance of being fulfilled and happy, or I can reinforce it by getting sucked into mind and play that game for the rest of your life. Literally for the rest of your life, start to look at which moments get me trapped into the mind, and the moments that draw you in, that's the moments, that's the things that you need to work on. So some of you guys, the mind will be very active during your poker. Some of it will be very active when you think about money. Some of you guys will be very active when you think about your relationships. All of these things are areas where you haven't developed enough to let them fully in. As a result, the mind thinks there is something that needs to be fixed. All right, so you got to watch it. All right, it's a fascinating game. I'm still, to this day, playing this game every day, watching my mind try to fix problems. And as soon as I see I don't have a problem, life is just happening, I'm here, interacting with the moment, can I be here with it? My mind is going to try to come up with solutions to fix a problem. As soon as I realize that's just the mind's function, there is no problem. There is no problem. There's just a moment that needs to be dealt with. And once you do that over and over, you realize that you're better at everything. You have more fun, you enjoy your life, but you're also better at everything. How could that be? Because you're there. That screen of your mind is playing the next shot. The movie, the flat screen of your mind, is actually interacting with the very experience. You're not having the old clips getting thrown on over and over, you're there. So when you're there, of course you can interact better with the moment when your mind's still. Of course, when your mind's not ruminating and think about things you like and dislike, you can interact better. All right, guys, hopefully this has given you guys some inspiration to work on this. I know we went deep today. Hopefully you've learned a very, very strong concept about how the mind functions. Most people do not understand this, and therefore they're lost. If you don't understand how things work and you try to fix things on the surface level, you'll often fail. For myself, going very deep to the roots allowed me to make a lot of progress in this area. So get working on this, guys. If you did like this video, make sure you hit the like button before you go. Smash the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. There's going to be more coming from me very soon.